right now, in literally millions of homes, there's a guy sitting on a couch.
Yeah, just hanging out.
Right, but he's earning a six-figure salary, he's paying the mortgage, and, acting as this model citizen.
A pillar of the community, basically.
Exactly, but while he's doing that, his wife is sitting maybe 3 feet away from him, experiencing the exact same psychological grief as a widow.
Wow. Yeah, it's intense.
It is. So today we're doing a deep dive into the silent devastation of the, what we call the good provider script.
Right, because this isn't about dramatic blow-ups.
No, not at all. We are looking at a relationship landscape that is entirely defined by quiet attrition. No cinematic explosions, no shattered plates, just the slow drip disconnect of modern ambition.
And it's the type of destruction that society doesn't just ignore it, it actively applauds it.
Right, like they give you a medal for it.
Exactly.
Yep.
I mean, think about it. When a relationship fractures because of, say, a secret second life or a massive gambling addiction.
Sure, the bad stuff.
Right, the diagnostic line is really clean. The villain is acting like a villain. You can point to it.
Yeah, everyone agrees they're the bad guy.
But when the mechanism of destruction is a socially rewarded behavior, like relentless grinding workaholism,
Yeah.
the whole diagnostic machine just completely breaks down. People don't know how to process it.
Which perfectly brings us to our focus today, because we are unpacking this really singular, incredibly raw piece of personal writing.
It's so good.
It really is. It's an anonymous blog post. It was written by a 29-year-old married woman, and it honestly serves as a dispatch from the front lines of this very common kind of isolation.
Yeah, it's a profound sense of isolation.
So our mission for this deep dive is to dissect that massive tension, the tension between ambition, duty, and emotional presence. We really want to explore what actually happens when the supposedly noble act of providing just, mutates into this suffocating absence.
And what's fascinating about this text is that the author's casual phrasing, it hides this deeply complex psychological reality.
Oh, totally.
She strips away all the dramatic portrayals we usually look for, and she just leaves us with the subtle daily mechanics of how a relationship basically starves in plain sight.
Right. So to you listening right now, I want to ask, have you ever felt utterly alone while sitting in the exact same room as someone you love?
Such a heavy question.
It is, but it's so common. Have you ever watched someone physically occupy space in your home, but their mind is just tethered to a totally different reality?
Completely checked out.
Exactly. So let's dive into the architecture of this author's days, just to kind of establish the baseline of her environment.
Good place to start.
So she starts by stating her demographics, right? She says she's 29, married, female, but she immediately follows it up with this line. She says, "Most days it feels like I'm living with a ghost who pays bills and leaves socks near the bed."
That phrase is it's incredible. A ghost who pays bills.
It hits so hard.
It really does, because it's a textbook articulation of a psychological phenomenon called ambiguous loss.
Ambiguous loss. Okay,
Yeah.
break that down for us.
Yeah, so Pauline Boss actually coined this term back in the 1970s.
Okay.
And she used it to describe this profound grief we experience when a loved one is physically present but psychologically absent.
Right. So they're there, but they're not there.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Because unlike a clear-cut loss, like a death or a divorce,
Where there's a funeral or court papers.
right, with those, society provides rituals, right? You get casseroles, you get time off work, you get a framework for mourning.
But with this, you get nothing.
Exactly. Ambiguous loss offers zero closure. I mean, his financial self is present, paying the bills.
Right.
His biological self is present, generating dirty socks for the laundry. But the consciousness, like the emotional anchor of the partner, it has totally vacated the premises.
Oh, man, it's like an emotional carbon monoxide leak.
That is a great way to put it.
Yeah, like he isn't actively attacking her with a weapon. It's just this invisible, odorless obsession with work that is slowly replacing all the breathable oxygen in the house.
And you don't even realize you're suffocating until it's too late.
Right. And she notes his daily routine, which I think a lot of people will recognize. She says he leaves early, comes home late, and eats like he's in a race.
Just inhaling food.
Yeah. And then he immediately opens his laptop or just sits there staring at his phone.
But notice how she reacts to that.
Yes. She preemptively defends him. She writes, "I get it. Jobs are hard. Money matters. I know he's not out partying or cheating or whatever dramatic movie crap. He's working."
She feels like she has to defend him. She's basically trapped in this wild sociological paradox.
How so?
Well, think about it. If her husband were spending 14 hours a day at a local bar, her friends and family would universally validate her fury, right?
Oh, absolutely. They'd tell her to pack his bags.
Right. The narrative would be clean. He is neglecting his family for selfish indulgence. But because he is working 14 hours a day to pay the mortgage.
Society gives him a medal.
Exactly. He is fulfilling the traditional patriarchal script of the protector and the provider.
The good guy.
Yeah. And because that script is so deeply ingrained in us, the author is forced into this state of cognitive dissonance.
Where she knows she's miserable but feels like she shouldn't be.
Right. Her profound loneliness feels entirely invalid to her. She is literally starving to death emotionally, while society is tapping her on the shoulder, telling her she's looking at a full pantry.
Wow. Starving while looking at a full pantry. That makes me wonder, though, is it actually more difficult to cope with a partner who ignores you for a quote-unquote good reason than for a bad reason?
Oh, I would argue it's vastly more difficult.
Because the good reason just completely robs you of the vocabulary to express your anger, right? It's like you can't complain about the guy who's keeping the lights on without sounding like this ungrateful, awful person.
It is so much harder to process. The good reason essentially gaslights the neglected partner.
Yeah.
Let's actually look really closely at the biological reality of what she's describing.
Okay, let's do it.
Remember when she said he eats like he's in a race?
Yeah, just wolfing it down.
Right. That isn't just a quirk of bad table manners.
Right.
That is actually the physical manifestation of a nervous system that is locked into chronic hyperarousal.
Like fight or flight.
Precisely fight or flight. Have you heard of polyvagal theory?
A little bit, but explain it for the listeners.
So according to polyvagal theory, our autonomic nervous system dictates our capacity for social engagement.
Okay.
When he eats like he is fleeing a predator, his sympathetic nervous system is dominating. The body literally perceives the overflowing email inbox or that pending project as a survival threat.
Like a tiger in the room.
Exactly like a tiger. It's pumping cortisol and adrenaline through his veins. And the critical issue here is that you absolutely cannot be in a state of sympathetic hyperarousal and simultaneously be capable of emotional intimacy.
Oh, wow. So biologically, he literally can't connect with her in that moment.
He can't. Intimacy requires a parasympathetic state.
Mm.
The rest and digest mode.
Yeah.
The vagus nerve actually has to act as a brake on the heart rate to allow for things like eye contact, empathy, and genuine connection.
And his brake is broken.
His brake isn't even engaged. He is moving entirely too fast, biologically speaking, for her to connect to them.
Which perfectly explains why she ends that first section of the blog post questioning her own sanity. She asks, "Is that needy? I don't even know anymore."
Yeah, that part is heartbreaking.
It really is. Because when you are systematically deprived of basic emotional sustenance, you start treating your normal human hunger as some sort of pathology. You think you're crazy for just wanting a conversation.
You really do?
But, that emotional starvation doesn't just neatly contain itself within the Monday through Friday grind. It doesn't just clock out at 5 on Friday.
No, it never does.
Right. It metabolizes into something far more dangerous when it bleeds into the weekend. So the post moves on to Sunday.
The weekend.
Yeah. What she says is supposed to be our day, but instead he spends half the Sunday working from home to, quote, just catch up.
Just catch up. The classic lie.
The classic lie. And then he spends the other half of the day totally exhausted, just scrolling emails on the couch.
Because the insidious nature of modern knowledge work is that it operates exactly like a gas.
Like a gas? What do you mean?
It expands to fill whatever container you give it.
Oh, wow.
There is no natural boundary. Unless you build a wall, it will take up every inch of space.
And that leads us right into the breaking point of this text, what I'm calling the pancake incident.
Yes. The pancakes.
So the author makes pancakes on Sunday morning, hoping for a, quote, cute morning, like normal couples do.
Just a basic bid for normalcy.
Exactly. So he walks into the kitchen, takes 2 bites of these pancakes, says, "Thanks, babe," and then takes a 35-minute work call pacing in the hallway.
35 minutes on a Sunday morning.
While her pancakes get cold. She says she's left sitting at the table, feeling like an idiot, and honestly wanting to just throw the plate across the room.
And who could blame her?
Right.
Yeah.
But what strikes me here isn't just the blatant rejection of the breakfast. It is the deeply transactional nature of his response.
The thanks, babe.
Yes, thanks, babe, is what you say to a barista handing you a latte. Or the Uber Eats driver. It's like he has entirely outsourced his domestic life to a service model.
It's a devastating scene. And from a psychological standpoint, it perfectly illustrates the failure of what we call a bid for connection.
a bid for connection. That's a Gottman term, right?
Yes, exactly. Dr. John Gottman's research out of the University of Washington, the famous Love Lab.
Right, right.
So Gottman found that the fundamental building block of a successful relationship isn't about grand romantic gestures. It's not the expensive vacations or the big anniversary dinners.
Just the small stuff.
It's entirely the small stuff. It's how partners respond to these micro invitations for emotional connection. Right. Bids. A bid can be as small as pointing at a weird bird out the window or, as significant as making a dedicated Sunday breakfast for the two of you.
So making those pancakes was a huge, tangible bid.
Massive.
Yeah.
She was deliberately carving out a physical and temporal space for them to be a we.
And he didn't just ignore the bid, he practically trampled it. But let me challenge the framing of his excuse here. Because he claims he is sacrificing his Sunday morning to just catch up.
Right.
My argument is that by trying to catch up on this infinite punishing treadmill of corporate tasks, he isn't catching up at all. He is actually just rapidly and dangerously falling behind on his actual life.
I completely hear you, but I'm actually going to disagree with that framing.
Oh, tell me.
I don't think he's falling behind. I would argue he has opted out of that life entirely.
Whoa, opted out.
Yeah. He isn't trying and failing to balance his marriage. He is playing a completely different game where the marriage isn't even on the scoreboard anymore.
Man, that is bleak. But why? Why would he do that?
Let's examine the neurobiology of it. Corporate email, Slack messages, project management software, they all operate on a dopamine feedback loop.
Like a slot machine.
Exactly like a slot machine. Every solved problem, every cleared notification, it provides this really sharp, predictable hit of dopamine.
Bing. You did a good job.
Right. Now, compare that to domestic bonding. Sitting at a table, eating pancakes, engaging in unstructured conversation with your spouse that relies on a much slower, less immediately rewarding release of serotonin and oxytocin.
Which takes time and patience.
And it's messy. The unpredictable reality of emotional intimacy is terrifying, and it requires immense emotional regulation.
Because she might bring up something hard.
Yeah.
Or they might disagree.
Exactly. So the grind is actually a socially sanctioned form of avoidance. He is addicted to the predictable metrics of his job because the nuance of his marriage requires a vulnerability he is currently just incapable of accessing.
He's hiding in his inbox.
He is 100% hiding.
That makes the detail of him taking the call in the hallway so much more potent to me.
The hallway's so specific.
It really is. Like, why the hallway? He could have taken the call in an office, if they have one, or he could have stepped outside onto a porch. But the hallway is this liminal space. It's a transition zone.
Mm-hmm.
By pacing in the hallway, he's literally dragging that frenetic, dopamine-driven energy of the corporate world right into the physical center of their domestic sanctuary.
And he remains physically close enough for her to hear his voice.
Yeah, she can't ignore him.
Exactly. Which ensures she remains anchored to him, waiting for him, but he makes himself completely emotionally inaccessible.
He draws this invisible boundary right through the center of the home.
He does, and look at the aftermath of it. The whole fallacy of catching up is exposed perfectly by what happens next in the post.
Right, because he doesn't just finish the call, close the laptop, and walk back to the kitchen table refreshed and ready to hang out.
No, he doesn't. The author notes that he spends the rest of the Sunday tired and scrolling emails.
Because the work doesn't reset his stress at all. It doesn't buy him future peace.
Exactly the opposite. It drains his cognitive and emotional reserves so thoroughly that he just descends into this passive numbness.
Yeah.
He has given all his active energy to the corporation. So his passive energy is just consumed by the sheer exhaustion of that effort.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no version of his day that leaves any residual capacity for his wife.
None. So she's sitting at that table with those cold pancakes, and it triggers this profound internal conflict for her. And I really think this brings us to the emotional core of the text.
The guilt trap.
Yes, the guilt trap. She writes, I wanted to throw the plate, not gonna lie. But also, I know he's stressed and I know he's doing this for us, so I feel bad being mad. That's the worst part. I'm angry, but also guilty, like my feelings are being annoying on purpose.
It's so painful to read that.
It is, because it feels exactly like a psychological autoimmune response.
Oh, that's a brilliant analogy. Walk me through that.
Okay, so think about it. Her anger at being ignored is a completely healthy, valid reaction to her environment, right?
Absolutely.
Her anger is like the white blood cell of her psyche. It's signaling that a boundary has been violated, that something is wrong.
Right.
But her logical brain, which has been conditioned to revere the provider, turns around and attacks that healthy response. Her logic is actively destroying her own basic emotional needs.
That phrase she uses, "my feelings are being annoying on purpose," is just a tragic articulation of self-alienation.
Self-alienation, yeah.
The isolation has forced her to view her own internal emotional compass as an enemy. Like it's a nuisance. We really have to look at the emotional load-bearing happening in this dynamic.
Okay, what do you mean by load-bearing?
Well, he is carrying the professional and financial weight, right?
Right.
Which is highly visible and, as we discussed, universally praised by society.
Right, he gets the paycheck, he gets the title.
But she is carrying the emotional weight for both of them. And that is entirely invisible. She is absorbing his stress. I mean, she explicitly says, "I know he's stressed." And simultaneously, she is suppressing her own valid needs to accommodate his chronic absence.
So she's managing him and she's managing herself so she doesn't bother him.
Exactly. She's doing double the emotional labor so he doesn't have to do any.
And the ultimate weaponization of this ambition is buried right in her justification when she says, "I know he's doing this for us."
Ugh, for us.
Right. When a partner frames their workaholism as a martyr's sacrifice for the relationship, they effectively immunize themselves against any accountability.
Completely.
I mean, how can she complain about a man who is supposedly destroying his own health to secure her future?
She can't, which is exactly why she turns the anger inward. But as readers, or as outsiders, we have to dismantle this myth of "for us."
Let's dismantle it.
He might genuinely believe it. He might think that the next promotion, the next closed deal, or reaching the next tax bracket will be the magic threshold that finally secures their happiness.
Just one more promotion, babe.
Right. But us implies a shared present tense experience. If the mechanism you are using to provide for the relationship actively destroys the interpersonal connection that makes the relationship exist in the first place,
then you aren't doing it for us.
you're no longer doing it for us. You're doing it for your own ego, your own anxiety management, or your addiction to societal validation.
It's like you are building a massive fortress to protect your partner, but you're seeing them inside the walls while you do it.
Bricking them in, post-style.
Exactly.
And the psychological damage of that sealed environment is profound. When a person is systematically trained to gaslight their own intuition, to feel guilty for just requiring basic engagement, they lose their tether to reality. She's adrift.
She is. And this internal war of attrition, battling your own anger and guilt while watching someone literally pace in a hallway, it cannot be sustained indefinitely.
And no nervous system can handle that forever.
Right. Which leads us to the final, honestly chilling revelation of her post. Because she doesn't fear a massive, explosive divorce.
No, she fears something much quieter.
She says she doesn't want a perfect husband with flowers and poems. She literally writes "ew" next to that.
Right. She's not asking for a rom-com.
No, she just wants him to look at her without checking his phone. She wants one dinner where he is actually present. And when she finally confronts him about it, he delivers the classic corporate defense. He says he knows, he'll try, but, quote, "work is crazy right now."
Right now.
Yeah, and her counter to that is devastating. She writes, "but right now has been like forever."
The myth of right now.
Yeah.
It really is the central lie of late-stage capitalist productivity culture.
It's a moving horizon line.
Oh, explain that.
You drive down a highway, you're staring at the horizon, and you are convinced that if you just accelerate, if you just drive a little faster, you will eventually reach the edge.
Right.
But the horizon is an illusion created by the curvature of the Earth. It perpetually recedes. The distance between you and the horizon never actually closes, no matter how fast you drive.
That is a perfect metaphor.
Right. He tells her just until the end of the quarter or just until this big product launches. But he is perpetually in transit. He never arrives.
Because the structure of modern work is explicitly designed to exploit that exact anxiety.
There's no finish line.
There is never a finish line. There is always another quarter. There is always another launch. When right now stretches from weeks into years, it ceases to be a temporary circumstance.
Yeah.
It just solidifies into the permanent architecture of your life.
So let me push back on how she, and frankly how we, are framing the husband's agency here.
Okay.
Are we letting him off the hook by labeling him as simply busy or stressed? Like, at what point does busy stop being a weather event that is just passively happening to him and start being a deliberate daily choice he is making?
That is the ultimate accountability check right there. Because busy is a prioritization.
Yes.
And is an active allocation of resources. When he chooses to take that 35-minute call instead of sitting with his wife over the pancakes she just made him, he is executing a value judgment.
He is making a choice.
He is stating, unequivocally through his actions, that the dopamine hit of the caller's urgency is vastly more valuable than his wife's serotonin-based bid for connection.
And if you asked him, he would deny it.
Oh, he would passionately deny it. He probably feels like a victim of his inbox. He feels besieged. But a life is just the aggregate of thousands of micro-choices. And his choices consistently place the marriage at the absolute bottom of the hierarchy.
Which is exactly why she sees the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
She writes, "Am I supposed to just wait until life magically gets less busy? Because I'm scared one day I'll stop caring and then it'll be too late."
This is the most crucial psychological warning in the entire text.
Yeah.
Yes. Because we operate under this massive cultural misconception that the opposite of love is hate, or that the opposite of love is anger.
Right. But it's indifference. The opposite of love is absolute indifference.
Exactly. As long as she is sitting at that table, furious about the cold pancakes, as long as she has the urge to throw the plate across the room, she is still deeply invested in the relationship.
Because anger takes energy. Anger is a very high-energy emotion. It requires a massive expenditure of caloric and psychological energy. Her anger is the physical proof that she still cares desperately about the gap between the marriage she wants and the marriage she actually has.
That's wild to think about. Her anger is a good sign.
Her anger is, ironically, the last gasp of her love.
So the pancake incident isn't just a fight about breakfast. The anger is her literally fighting for survival in this marriage.
But the human nervous system cannot sustain chronic, high-alert anger indefinitely.
Right, you just burn out.
You do burn out. Biological burnout is real. Eventually, the brain has to intervene to protect the organism from the pain of constant, predictable disappointment.
So what does the brain do?
The protective mechanism the brain deploys is apathy. It literally calcifies the emotional receptors. She is actively warning him in this blog post that her anger is on the verge of hardening into total indifference.
Wow.
If he misses enough cues, if he rejects enough bids, she will simply stop making the pancakes.
And when the pancakes stop, the marriage is functionally over.
Yeah.
Like, they might share the same address for another 4 decades. They might raise kids and pay off the mortgage, but the emotional core will have just necrotized.
She will have accepted the ghost as a permanent fixture in her house.
Man. She perfectly captures this tragedy in her final lines. Let me read it. She says, "I love him. I really do. And I don't think he's a bad guy. I just think he forgot I'm here. Has anyone else been married but felt single as hell?"
You forgot I'm here. That just distills the great paradox of the modern provider into 5 simple words.
Really does.
Because in his obsessive, culturally mandated quest to secure the future, he has completely abandoned the present. But human relationships do not exist in the future.
Right, they exist right now.
You cannot deposit love in a 401k to be withdrawn at retirement.
Oh, that's a bar. That's a great way to put it.
Love, intimacy, connection, they only exist in the immediate, tangible present. If you are constantly vacating the present moment to manage a crisis in your inbox, you are absent from the relationship, period.
It is a profound and honestly terrifying reality for anyone who is trying to navigate the intersection of career ambition and domestic partnership right now.
It's a modern dilemma.
It really is. So, as we wrap up our analysis of this really incredible blog post, let's distill some of the core insights we've pulled from this text today.
Let's do it.
We examine the psychological trap of ambiguous loss, right? How grieving a partner who is physically present but emotionally vacant is infinitely harder when society praises the very work ethic that is causing the absence in the first place. We unpacked the danger of ignored bids for connection, and how outsourcing your domestic presence to this transactional service model, the thanks babe model, just completely destroys intimacy.
Right.
We looked at the emotional autoimmune disease of guilt, where a neglected partner is conditioned to view their own basic needs as a nuisance. And finally, we totally dismantled the myth of the temporary right now, recognizing that unchecked ambition doesn't actually build a future.
No, it just acts as an anesthetic against the vulnerability of the present.
So well said. What would you say is the fundamental takeaway here?
The fundamental takeaway is that presence is not passive.
Right.
It is not merely occupying the same zip code or sitting on the same couch in the living room. Presence is the active, intentional, and highly regulated allocation of your attention.
The tension.
Because attention is the singular, non-renewable currency of human life. Where you spend it dictates exactly what grows, and what you withhold it from will inevitably wither.
So to you, the listener, who is navigating your own living rooms and your own Sunday mornings, I want you to take a hard, unfiltered look at the architecture of your routines.
Good advice.
Are you the one pacing in the hallway, letting the pancakes turn cold while you convince yourself that you just need to catch up on an infinite treadmill? Or are you the one sitting at the table, swallowing your anger, gaslighting your own intuition, and wondering if your feelings are just being annoying?
Because breaking this cycle requires a radical, uncomfortable rejection of the status quo.
Yeah, it's not easy.
It requires the person working to establish terrifying, rigid boundaries with a corporate structure that is literally designed to consume them. And it requires the person waiting to stop accepting the crumbs of a perpetually receding now, right?
Absolutely. So we will leave you with this final thought to mull over long after this deep dive ends today. If ambition is constantly sold to us as the ultimate vehicle for building a better, more secure future, what happens when that very ambition acts as a time machine?
Wow.
What happens when it fast forwards us straight past the messy, beautiful reality of the present moment, only to drop us in a future where the person we were supposedly building it all for has finally stopped waiting?